My best story of all with Mark is about a tree, and I love this story. I was at one of my lowest points in February towards the end of my chemo, and I was very sick. And I want to take a step aside a minute to tell you what I mean by very sick. You have to remember I had just had the health ordeal with my tumor. Not too long before I had breast cancer, my body hadn't fully recovered yet. So I had some severe reactions to the chemo, and it really knocked me down. I not only had extreme nausea and fatigue, I had chronic sinus infections to the point where I would just blow blood out my nose, and I almost had to have surgery to stop the bleeding. The chemo scarred my tear ducts closed. I had to go to the eye surgeon, and I'll never forget waiting in the waiting room, or in the little room, and he walked in with his tray of instruments, and he had to manually pry open each one of my tear ducts, and it was very painful. I had pleurisy, which is an infection in the lining of your lungs, which hurt every time I took a breath. I had thrush every time I took chemo, which is a bad rash in your mouth and your throat. I had mouth sores. I had sores all over my body. There were a couple days when I just soaked in the bathtub and cried because everything just hurt. I had severe headaches. I had earaches and joint pain. And I tell you this, I just want to give you a perspective of what I say when I was sick. Well, one morning I woke up in February and I was crying because I was sick. And I was too sick to get up, and I was too sick to go back to sleep. And I just felt ugly. I didn't have hair, and I didn't have eyebrows and eyelashes, and I was pale and puffy. So I just laid there and cried. And Mark was getting dressed, getting ready for work. And he came over and sat on the side of the bed and hugged me. And then he said, "Kelly, I want you to get up and come over to the window with me." The last thing I wanted to do was get out of bed and go look out the silly window. But I did. I followed Mark to the window, sobbing, and he pointed out the window at this big tree we have in our front yard. And this is in February. And he said, "Kelly, look at that tree. It looks dead, doesn't it?" Well, it's not. It's going to have beautiful blooms in the spring. And then he took my chin and he pulled my face to his and he said, "And so are you." Oh, you don't know how many days I stared out the window waiting for that tree to bloom when I was sick this winter. And I want to share with you, it's spring, it's actually summer now, and I want to share my blooms because I'm blooming. These are my blooms. So.